Homicide, 1907. The case of 20-year-old Archibald Page. Archibald Page was convicted of the murder of 17-year-old Annie Elizabeth Haines and sentenced to death but reprieved. He strangled her in a ditch at Croft, Leicestershire on the 7th of October 1907. They had been engaged for 12 months. However, Archibald Page became jealous when he saw her walking out with other young men. However, it was clear that they were still strongly attached to one another. On the 30th of September 1907, Annie Haynes went to stay with an uncle and an aunt that had lived in Attleborough. Archibald Page visited her there on that day as well as on the 1st of October 1907, and they were said to have been on good terms. He later visited her there on the 5th of October 1907 when it was thought that they had had a quarrel, and Annie Haynes refused to go with him to the pit where he worked. Archibald Page was said to have then started to become jealous about a young man that was lodging with the aunt and uncle. The next day, 6th of October 1907, Archibald Page went to the house and went for a walk with the uncle and spoke to him about falling out with Annie Haynes. Later that evening, Annie Haynes went to a Baptist church with a family party, which included the uncle, aunt, and the lodger. Archibald Page and a friend of his followed them to the chapel and waited outside for them and later followed them part of the way home. Archibald Page said that Annie Haynes and the lodger had been walking together and that when he attempted to speak to her that the lodger had called her back. However, the lodger later denied that. Archibald Page knew that Annie Haynes would return home by train to Croft Station the next day, and so had gone there earlier by train and waited for her in a quiet part of the road where he knew she would pass on her way home. And when she came by, he repeatedly asked her to tell him the name of the man that she had been walking with. However, when she refused, he grabbed her by the throat and threw her into a ditch where he strangled her. He said that when he met her, he had said, "Good morning," and that they had walked for a little way, during which he had asked her several times to tell him the name of the lodger and how it was that she was walking out with him. He said that she refused and had told him that it was nothing to do with him. Archibald Page said, "I then took hold of her with my left hand at her back and my right hand on her breast and pushed her back on the side of the road." He said that he then asked again, "Annie, what is the lodger's name?" and that she replied, "It's nowt to do with you." He said that he then lifted her into the dyke and placed his left hand round her windpipe and kept it there while some men from the quarry went by on their bikes. He said that he thought that they would see him, but there was a bush in front of him and they didn't. He said that she didn't try to get away and that she put her hand on his face, and that when he took his hand off her throat, she was dead. He said that she was not more than 3 minutes going off. He said that he knew she was dead when she turned black in the face. After, Archibald Page took out some letters from his pocket and put them under her coat, kissed her hands and face, and then threw away some parcels that she had been carrying, and then made off. She was later found dead in the ditch by a man walking from Croft Station towards Broughton Astley. Near her body were a bundle of love letters, in which one read, "For God's sake, Archie, I hope you are not going to part from me for nothing." In her letters, she had vehemently denied going with other young men, and wrote, "I love you with all my heart and soul. I don't want any other chap. I have been true to you. It makes me quite ill to think you are forsaking me." In response, Archibald Page wrote, "Dear Annie, I have served you too shabby. I shall be your lover till death part us. If you leave me, I shall have no friend left. God be with you till we meet again." Annie Haynes wrote in another letter, "I should like to share those troubles that you are bearing all alone. Don't cry again as you did last Sunday." Archibald Page was arrested the next day in Rugby. After he was arrested, Archibald Page made an elaborate confession saying that he had kissed her hands and face after he had killed her. During his trial, he was seen to smile several times, and when he was asked if he had anything to say after the sentence of death was passed, he said, "No, sir." After the murder, he had made a full confession. It was heard that he had previously contemplated killing her, but her actual murder was the outcome of a furious jealousy. It was heard that his age alone did not seem sufficient reason to reprieve him, but it was also stated that he was considered to be of somewhat defective intelligence, had a previously excellent character, and had a strong affection for her, and had killed her in a fit of jealousy, and he was reprieved. Annie Haynes had been a servant girl. Archibald Page had been a minor. He was later released from Dartmoor Prison on the 10th of February 1917, aged 30. Croft Station has since been demolished.